Obama's pal showed up in Iran last week chanting "Death to USA and Israel," caught on video. Ever notice how a certain political party doesn't ever denounce this anti-American, Jew-hating monster? That really explains everything you need to know about them. This man is pure evil. From Hannity. Nation of Islam leader and vicious anti-Semite Louis Farrakhan traveled to Iran this week, delivering a hate-filled speech to law students and leading the crowd in a "Death to Israel, Death to America" chant. The 85-year-old Farrakhan addressed law school students at the University of Tehran Monday, the same day the Trump administration unveiled a series of crippling new sanctions against the Islamic Republic. "Today, I warn the American government that sanctioning Iran is a big mistake," said Farrakhan. "America has never been a democracy." Donald Trump Jr. weighed in on Farrakhan's hate-filled address minutes later, asking when will the Democrats disavow this guy? Answer: never. This is just the tip of the iceberg of Barack Obama's corruption. Let's also remember what else has been uncovered since he left office, specifically, why he spent $36.20 mil to hide certain records in his final months. As right-wing news previously reported, we found out what he was up to and just how bad it is for America. There are things that just are not cool. One of those, according to former President Barack Obama, is ignorance. In 2016, then-President Obama said during a Rutgers University commencement address, "It's not cool to not know what you're talking about," in what could be clearly viewed as a swipe at Donald Trump, who at the time was the likely Republican nominee for president. It seems to be quite a mouthful for a man who during his 2008 campaign promised to be part of the most transparent administration ever. The entirety of the Obama presidency was one shrouded in secrecy and innuendo and division. If you were not on Obama's side and 100% in compliance with his agenda, you were the enemy and you would be eliminated, sometimes through very public and scandalous means. Far from transparency, the Obama administration is most likely to go down in history as the least transparent and the most corrupt in history. CBS News reports. The Obama administration in its final year in office spent a record $36.2 million on legal costs defending its refusal to turn over federal records under the Freedom of Information Act, according to an Associated Press analysis of new U.S. data that also showed poor performance in other categories measuring transparency in government. For a second consecutive year, the Obama administration set a record for times federal employees told citizens, journalists, and others that despite searching they couldn't find a single page of files that were requested. And it set records for outright denial of access to files, refusing to quickly consider requests described as especially newsworthy, and forcing people to pay for records who had asked the government to waive search and copy fees. The government acknowledged when challenged that it had been wrong to initially refuse to turn over all or parts of records in more than one-third of such cases, the highest rate in at least 6 years. In courtrooms, the number of lawsuits filed by news organizations under the Freedom of Information Act surged during the past 4 years, led by the New York Times, Center for Public Integrity and the Associated Press, according to a litigation study by the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse at Syracuse University. The AP on Monday settled its 2015 lawsuit against the State Department for files about Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State, at AP's request, and received $150,546 from the department to cover part of its legal fees. The AP has pending lawsuits against the FBI for records about its decision to impersonate an AP journalist during a criminal investigation and about who helped the FBI hack into a mass shooting suspect's iPhone and how much the government paid to do it. Of the $36.2 million in legal costs fighting such lawsuits last year, the Justice Department accounted for $12 million, the Homeland Security Department for $6.3 million and the Pentagon for $4.8 million. The three departments accounted for more than half the government's total records requests last year. The figures reflect the final struggles of the Obama administration during the 2016 election to meet President Barack Obama's pledge that it was the most transparent administration in history, despite wide recognition of serious problems coping with requests under the information law. It received a record 788,769 requests for files last year and spent a record $478 million answering them and employed 4,263 full-time FOIA employees across more than 100 federal departments and agencies. That was higher by 142 such employees the previous year. The mainstream media continues to cry about current President Donald Trump and his accusations of fake news. Factually based accusations, mind you, and claim that he is a threat to the so-called free press. It is vitally important to remember that in addition to restricting the access to information that should be freely available, costing American taxpayers exponential amounts in court costs and attorney fees in an effort to hide their shady business, journalists that attempted to expose the nature of that business were targeted and systematically attacked.